Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to another radio show episode here for episode 23 here on a Wednesday. Here for not a midweek roundup, but a special topic episode here for this week, and it's been a long time coming, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And it should be good here for episode 23. I'm going to turn you over to our humble host, Mike Mo, who is going to switch his voice in 2 seconds because he does not want to sound like this all episode. Thank you, and I bid you guys a good night, and here is your humble host. Well, hello guys, welcome back. My name is, as you guys know, I'm your humble host, Mike Mo, here for another, well, not just another radio show episode, a very special one at that. I've been planning this one out for weeks, and I have been dying to share it with you for some time because I figured you want to know. Stay phone, please. So yeah, I think that's the longest I think my radio show personality has shown itself. So yeah, guys, today I'm going to tackle the topic of my history, my personal history, my personal experience, mental health, so, and learning differences and sort of thing, that sort of thing. So currently I am 30 years old. For those of you who out there who want to know, I'm 30 years old. I was born September 15, 1989. I have been wearing glasses since I've been 2 years old, and I've been diagnosed with a learning difference since the age of 10. Although I was diagnosed young, probably 8, 9 years old, but I didn't learn of my diagnosis till I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I feel it's good to project this and say what I have because, do I feel different? Yes. Is it good to be different in the world? I think it is, because a lot of people don't think I can relate to them, but I know what it's like to be different, be treated, and everything like that. So what I have, folks, is Asperger's syndrome, which is a nonverbal, which means you cannot tell through verbal. You cannot tell through verbal contact. You can tell by my wording and by the way I think if I have it or not. I've been diagnosed with this learning difference, as I call it now, learning disability. You guys will notice that recurring theme when I call it a learning difference, not a learning disability, throughout these 2 videos. Part 1. So this is part 1 of, just to let everybody know, this is part 1. So I was diagnosed probably 8, 9 years old, although I wasn't officially told until I was like 10. So I've been living with this for over a good span of over 20, almost 28, 29 years now. I think I was diagnosed 11 years old. I forget if it was September, October, I can't remember when, but I remember the day I was told I had one. Initially, I looked at my diagnosis, I read all my stuff, and I thought, oh wow, I'm different. And I think I cried that day too. So I didn't like it. I didn't accept it at first, and everything. So, but as the years went on and on and on, I learned to accept that I'm different. I think differently. My way of thinking my way of life is different from other people, but I could still live a normal functioning life. I could still hold a job. It's just a battle if I can keep my head on my head and I can keep organized. I am proud that I actually have one because it makes me unique. I think we're all snowflakes, so we're all come in different shapes and sizes and different mindsets and all this other stuff. So this is the reason why when people of different races or people, I don't laugh at them because I know what it's like to be laughed at, teased for this, for that. So I don't, that's the reason why racism is a huge thing for me. I don't like it, and I don't really think in that way because I know it's like to be different, and it gives me a different mindset for different people your background and your ethnicity and your culture matter. So, and it's unique to you. So, pretty much like anything else. So, you know, so when I was in school, I got I got teased for sounding different, thinking different, not being able to react the same way like other people. Like if somebody told me a joke about myself or being sarcastic, I didn't know it was sarcasm. So everybody's like, "What? You didn't think that was funny?" I'm like, no, you just told me something. And I'll give you an example. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, you're such a bad boy when it comes to this, and I wouldn't get that, you know. Like, it's basically sarcasm as we call it with us. It's not easy. It's called sarcasm challenge. We're called sarcasm challenge, or it's not a sarcasm is our biggest thing. Still to this day, I have trouble with sarcasm. So, um, and I could never take a joke sometimes, but you know, it's part of me. Who else? Um, it's just part of how I act and how I am. So my friends know this wholeheartedly, that I react different and that I'm not the same as everybody else, and that's fine because they understand. I understand. Um, so yeah, I dealt with everything, and the school systems that I was in. I was first in parochial school, which didn't help because that was bad. Then I went to public school where I thought I was going to get an education. Found out that that wasn't the case. Um, so I battled, you know, not being able to do math correctly. My writing was all over the place. I really couldn't form a proper sentence nor write a paper. So um, I really didn't think I had much of a future, really much, because, in fact, it never dawned on me that I would have to live an adult life um, because I had so much to think about as a kid. So, um, you know, I went through the normal motions. People used to call me this Four Eyes. When I had the glasses, people used to call me Four Eyes all the time. Um, and for a mental standpoint, it wasn't always easy to fight back, actually, because you never knew how to react properly. Because every time you did react, you know the kids be like, oh, the special kid's getting frustrated, and he's like, and you know, I'm not lashing out. I'm getting upset because they shouldn't be really doing that, and these other kids know better, sort of, you know. Um, and I remember the school officials not knowing what to do. They're like, "Oh, he's acting out. He doesn't know how to react." I'm like, "Really? You guys are supposed to tell the difference?" Not really. I did get into it. I will say this verbally. I did get into a couple fights, verbally, not physically. It was never fun because they would always look at me, and they always look at me, and the other kids, the other kids who were in the who I always thought were neurotypical. If you guys want to know what that, you know, I'm going to throw out some words. Neurotypical means for somebody who thinks differently from me, and differently from me, of course, is somebody with a learning difference. Um, so a neurotypical usually would be like, oh, and some of the kids were actually very nice to me. They were actually like, why are they bothering you? But they shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, aren't you in that class? I'm like, yeah, I'm in that class down the hall. I'm like, they shouldn't be bothering you. I'm like, and some of the kids would talk to me. Some of the I made some friends over in public school. Not very good ones though. I didn't make ones that were very. Uh, I didn't make ones that were very good. I mean, we used to have. I used to know a couple of people that were very good. I mean, you know, I know there was one kid that I would be able to talk NASCAR with, but NASCAR couldn't be in my life because, you know. Um, yeah, there's some good, and there's some teachers that didn't understand. There's some teachers that understood. Usually, the special ed ones were usually good enough to understand, but they weren't able to help 100%. and everything. Uh, the one thing I will say this though, my school system, as I will get into to part two, on how things changed and how my life went, um, and how I progressed into adulthood. But but yeah, I never thought in the back of my mind that I'd be able to go anywhere at one point, but I wanted to. I definitely wanted to go other places. Like I definitely wanted to do spelling tests. I definitely wanted to do this. I definitely wanted to do that. I wanted to do multiplication, division, um, and everything. And I really wanted to do that. Um, really wanted to do that and all, but you know, the teaching, especially the special ed teaching I had, was really bad. So my understanding of the world was very little, so there was not much I could think about. So I really couldn't figure out any fancy ways to get out of any situations. If I did, then I would be able to. Um, then I would have been able to use that. Um, and another thing I can remember when I was a kid is I was a very quiet kid. I was never very talkative. I was very reserved. I didn't really talk all that much. I really didn't have a social life outside of the friends that we had at school, and there was a couple of ones that would talk about certain topics. But um, it's just it was just hard to connect with people, and my teachers tried endlessly to get me to talk to people, but I just wouldn't do it because I didn't know how to socialize. Because um, it was probably partially that was probably my fault, and probably that was partially um, the fact that I didn't want to, that I wasn't curious enough. So part of that is my fault, but part of it is also genetics, and not genetics, but also not genetics, but my functioning, my wiring. Um, yeah, I didn't know how to talk, but I had a certain group of friends. It's not that I was completely social, but it's just I was very quiet and reserved. There's not a whole lot of confidence um, available to me because, you know, as I said, people used to tease me left and right. Everybody really thought I was weird. So, and I was used to that, and um, and everything. So, um, everything else. Um, I'm actually going to pause this, and I'm probably going to go eat. So I will continue the rest of this in another part. All right. So don't worry. I'm just going to be back. What'll be a couple of hours for me will be a couple of seconds for you. So I'll continue my story. All right. Sorry, guys. I had to just eat for a bit, and so I'm gonna be start back. So if I can remember correctly, I was talking about, you know, my experiences with mental health. So um, I told you guys what it felt like to deal with all the challenges, and socially to deal with all the stuff, and be overstimulated and all this other stuff. Um, I can remember from a very young age that I knew something was different with me because of the way how I was treated and how I was pulled out of my main classes. I was still able to function in my main classes pretty much, but the problem was I needed to be in an environment that was natural, and I needed to obviously be in a place that was great for me, where I could be included with people of my own type and um, my own social realms, and you know, connect with some people um, and everything. But I knew I wasn't going to get that when I was at Avon, because you know it just wasn't viable for Avon, and I wasn't able to do very well testing wise. I mean, the MCAS. If you guys want to talk about stress of testing, the MCAS was tough and everything. Um, so now I've given you guys a bit of a synopsis of what I dealt like. What was it like from my point of view? I told you guys some of the difficulties I had. What was it like through my eyes? Uh, how did I feel? Um, I mean, I'll be honest. I felt like I was going through school. I felt like I was learning. Um, and I felt that anytime I got into a real classroom, I was like, oh yeah, great. I'm with the kids. I moved up in the world. They wanted to do that. They wanted to do that because they wanted me to experience what it was like to be in a real classroom. But I will tell you this right now: trying to be in a regular classroom is tough, and everything. But through my eyes, I'll tell you guys what I felt. I was trying to get through my day every day, and my self esteem wasn't very good because I told you I was teased and I was bullied and all this other stuff, and I had people constantly rag on me. So through my eyes, it was kind of bleak of a world for me because I had to get up every day and endure the same thing over and over and over again, and it sort of wore on me. But I was always upbeat. I always was upbeat about this, but I was upbeat about everything. I always had fun. Maybe a little too much fun sometimes. And I had my habits. I had my social outbreaks, and and I, and I pretty much call that. I mean, pretty much didn't have what it took to survive in a regular school. I knew that much. There were some days where I was like, why do I even come to school? Should I say I'm sick? Should I go to the doctor? Should I do this or do that? I never felt, I didn't get highly emotional because I didn't have any bad thoughts of, I didn't have any bad thoughts. I didn't have any suicidal thoughts at all when I was a kid. I didn't even know that there was a thing. So I just thought that was going to be my life and that's how it is. And I should have just conform and just accept my fate. Um, but I knew something was wrong. Um, and in order to function through the day, I sometimes had to sort of go in my own little world. When you have a learning difference, you're in your own little world. You're trying to make this world so you can make it all fun and happy and everything. And you really shut a lot of things out so you can just flat out survive. Um, and I remember looking at all the kids, and I remember, I want to have friendships like this. I want to be able to go over this person's house. I want to do this. I want to do that. I really never got to do that a heck of a lot. Um, when I was a kid, I don't think it was till grade school, till middle schoolish middle school, that I started doing hangouts and sleepovers at people's houses, or spend the day at their houses and then going back home. That didn't happen until much, much later, but I'll tell you that in the next story. Um, but I just sat there looking. I'm like, I could have such a better life. And my parents knew it too, because, um, and everything. And I will say this, I was not looking for a way out or anything because I love my life. I knew I was, I knew I was on Earth for a reason. And I knew that I had to find a way to get out of my situation. But as you guys can expect, 9, 10-year-old, you can't expect much. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, these adults, um, they're too much for me. They have more authority. I can't speak out against them. I was taught as a young kid that you're not supposed to do that. Um, but the problem is, though, my parents started seeing some things, and it was right then and there that they noticed I had a problem. and they were trying to get me tested and all this other stuff. They're trying to pull me out of school and everything to get me tested, and they tried to do it a lot during the summer so that they could have me in school. And we started figuring out little by little. We started trying little by little, trying to figure out what was working, what was not. And I'll tell you guys in the next part about, how medication worked for me, and what I use and what I didn't use, and what its effects were on me. But it was, but I just sat there and I was like, I have to get out of this. I know there's something so much better out for me. And literally, I knew I had a future. The only thing was, though, I needed to figure out how to do that and how to get past my problem. And when I was a younger kid, I didn't know that my dad I knew that my dad was a construction worker. I really didn't know about his town stuff. I knew he was a water commissioner and everything because my dad was always on a bunch of different boards back in the day. But I didn't know my dad had influence in the town. I didn't know that he could have done this, but I didn't know that at the time. I knew my dad was a great guy. I knew he would support me no matter what. He always was able to comfort me and make sure I was a happy kid and make sure I had the best of the best. I really didn't have much of I knew my dad was a strong guy, but I knew he was there to make sure I grew and make sure I had a good education. He would pay for school and everything. So I respected him for that, and I always did what I was told as a younger kid. I was very well disciplined as a younger kid because I turned out all right. I'm not in jail. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not into drugs or anything because my dad told us not to, and all those other things. So that's the reason why I'm squared away. I may be a little odd at times, but I knew at the time that I had to figure a way out, and I had to do it in a way that would benefit, that would not only make my future brighter, but also make my life for my parents brighter, because I know they wanted a lot from me, and they knew something was wrong, and they really didn't have much evidence to go off of until I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I figured enough was enough. I didn't have much self-esteem. I said I have to figure how to. I told my parents a couple of times that, oh, we're learning this, we're learning that, and they're like, oh, that's this. Over the course of a couple of years, I saved some worksheets, so I brought some of my folders home. I put it in my bag. Unbeknownst to the teachers, because the teachers weren't looking. I said, oh, I want to show them the work to my mom and dad. Little did they know that was the start of, and they never saw it again. Little did they know that was the start of a plan of mine, in my little brain. I said, I have to get my parents to notice that this is going on, and that they're not doing anything. So, from there on in, I figured out what was going on, but it was a few years away. And I said, I have to, when I got one of the worksheets, and I noticed it was the same one, and I said, I have to see a pattern. My parents are probably going to have to see a pattern, probably, and that's when I said it. And when I saw that I was doing the same thing that I was doing last year, and I was asking the other kids what they were doing, I said, "Oh, we're doing this in class." I'm like, "I'm not doing that. I've already passed this and this and that. I want to do this." And they're like, "Your teachers in the special needs aren't doing that?" I'm like, "No, they're not doing anything. They're not." And I said, "No, I want to learn that. I want to learn that. I want to become smarter." So, and a few of the people that understood me were like, I'm like, "Then you should be telling somebody." I'm like, "I can't. You know, gotta go along with the motions, and I gotta not say a word. You know." So, um, I know this might dry ire from a few of my friends, but when I was younger, for those of you who do not know me, I actually am into anime, and I was into the Dragon Ball series back in the day. And Goku was one of my favorite TV heroes back in the day. Yeah, I know what you guys are going to say, oh, Superman or Iron Man. No, Goku was my original hero. And he always will be. If Thomas Gilkey is watching this and he is viewing this, do not boo me, because it is the cartoon characters whose maybe not his main personality, but maybe his fighting personality and his drive to keep pushing through, um, even though he faces some incredible odds, he always finds a way to do that. I can remember back in, um, as I always looked up to him, and he looked up to him as a hero. I mean, I'm like, this is basically what my dad's probably like, because my dad is a good guy. He always likes to build and improve things. So maybe he's got something. And I'm like, so I looked at Goku, and I'm like, so if Goku can do this to his enemies and turn the odds, why can't I? And then I'm gonna say, as the show progressed, I noticed he was taking on more and more foes, and I said, okay, so as the challenges get higher, I also have to rise to the challenge and obviously power through all this. And I have to find some way. And I think at one point, when I had when I saw the pattern, and I said, this isn't right, and I said, I have to act. It was basically my version of turning Super Saiyan. I'm like, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm going to figure out a way to. I'm going to figure out a way to. I'm going to figure out a way to power through this, and I'm going to figure out a way to rise above, and then I'm going to probably take on more challenges. Once I beat one challenge, I'm probably going to take on more as I go. But I needed to pick up myself, and I really needed to do that. And no, I never quoted Goku to any of the boys, because they would think, oh, you just quoting Goku. I'm like, but my head, when I was talking to them and when I was doing what I needed to do and set them straight a couple of times, that's what I thought, not physically, maybe mentally. And I know at the time, but I was conducting mental warfare back then. But and I and diplomacy, trying to forgive somebody and trying to figure it out. I, at this point, knew that I couldn't forgive the school system for what they were doing. And I said, no, this is enough. I have to fight, and I have to see if my parents will fight. And that is exactly what I did, because and then from that point on, I sat there, and I knew my parents were good people because they gave me a good house. They always fed me well. So I said, my parents are good people. They'll definitely fight. And they wanted to. So I knew right then and there that, and that gave me hope that I'd be able to fight. So, but it wasn't easy coming to that decision, because I knew even if I did rise above the challenge and I did get past that, I'd have more challenges ahead of me when I went to learning prep, which was my next port of call for school, of course. So, yes. Guys, I'm going to bid this one adieu. I will meet you guys probably 2 Wednesdays from now for part 2. But I just want to tell you guys that, and I'll give you guys more insights on, I'll give you guys more insights on my final thoughts. But it's an interesting topic, and I think you guys will want to watch this. It's probably going to be about a half an hour long-ish, but and the other one's probably, so this is probably going to be 12 of an hour probably when it's finished. So yeah, guys, as usual, everyone, long live America, God bless America, long live democracy, long live our rights and our freedoms. Amen to our grandparents, or amen to my grandparents' spirits. Pray for Tom, Megan, and April. Let them stay strong, especially April right now. She's on the mend. She's doing well. So yeah, pray for her as well. Yeah, come on. Here for another vlog. Here for not vlog, but for another radio show episode. Part 1 of my view on mental health, my experiences with learning disabilities in school and stuff. Part 1. Part 2 will come 2 weeks from now. I think for episode 20. Probably episode 25 or 26. So I will see you guys. Well, actually, episode 24 is. Yeah, so episode 20. 2 weeks from now will be probably, give or take, episode 28 or 30, something like that. But 2 episodes from now will be. 2 weeks from now will be part 2. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you guys enjoyed this, peace out. I'll see you guys in the next one.